Yes, well, welcome back. Time to turn our attention to sporting gear. Where's it come from, how it's made here in South Australia. Been very fortunate the man from Sports Scene, Ian Knight's been good enough to come in and join us. Ian, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for the invite.
Sports Centre, mate, where are you based?
We're on Port Road at Hindmarsh, and we also have our factory down at Port Road at Woodville.
All right, let's talk about the factory down at Woodville. It's nice to have stuff that's made here in South Australia. We'll get a look at it on the screen. Perhaps you can talk us through what we're about to see.
Yeah, with pleasure. The factory we have employs around about 35 South Australians, and here we have our design side of things where we do that. This is a sublimation machine. There's an embroidery machine. We have 40 heads of these producing product. We have a Bowls Australia licence. Here's some products of which the customers would be used to in Bowls. We supply a fair hunk of the state in Bowls clothing, as you can see, from vests, jackets, polos. We custom make those. It's all complete design service offered to the clients. And these are young South Australian lads that we've taught to handle this gear. The range is various fabrics that suit South Australian conditions and climate, and from standard items, as we'd say standard items, plain colours, through to the most colourful you require. Some cut and sewn panels, and then some which we sublimate with the process, which is a heating process on polyester and a transfer process, which gives you a fantastic result.
You know, it's amazing, and I think one of the thing that stands out to me, not only is it world class, it's importantly manufactured in South Australia. And we've seen in various businesses in recent years, people screaming out to buy local. Sometimes they don't know where to go to start, but Sports Centre is local manufactured, employing local people. That has to be your first point of call, from your point of view, obviously.
Very much, yeah. We started in the sports industry, my wife and I, 40 years ago, and we've diversified into, we saw the niche market required where people want something, so a club president will come to us and short turnaround time or a well-planned turnaround time, and they want a product, a cloth made for South Australian weather, which is also quite interesting. You can see lots of things. And also there's a lot of people that like supporting South Australian companies, there's no doubt about that.
Ian, I've been fortunate being down to the store down there at Port Adelaide, gone upstairs and seen the boys on the computers. About 6 computers up there, Poppy, where you can design what you want, and it's fantastic, seriously, and the fact that it's in South Australia. I mean, we've all ordered stuff from overseas before. It's going to take 4 weeks, it takes 6 months. We can go to you and say, this is what I want, we can see it on the screen, we can pick out the colours. Turnaround time normally?
4 weeks is what we'd comfortably like.
4 weeks,
a lot of clubs and associations and presidents will come to us and want it in 1 or 2, but such is their way of doing things, and such as their demands they put on them. So that is available for them.
You said you've been in the industry 40 years. How much has it changed?
Oh, tremendously. I mean, we started with a little shop out at Salisbury, and we, how would I say, sold everything from the footwear through to equipment through to what have you. These days we've diversified through where we employ 50 odd people, which covers all sports. And we concentrate more on the clothing, outfitting uniforms for schools, clubs. That's our main game.
And so I guess with the focus being on clubs, how have they embraced the business? Is it still, can you still be a successful, viable business based in South Australia? I guess you just need honesty, integrity, good service. I guess service is the key.
The service is the real key. We offer online stores as well within that. So let's say you're your local club and you've got the hassle of having to handle stock, hold stock. Well, these days you don't have to do that. And a person, a setup like we've got, whereby we do our own embroidery, own screen print and our own sublimation, the point being is we can turn around small orders very quickly. Good. So let's say you come in and want an umbrella printed, or you want the local club umbrella, we can just press that within a couple of days internally. It's there for them.
All right, we know Sports Centre's the place to go if you want to get your gear. We know they're exceptional. Now we want some good tips for you for this weekend, mate, so we've got to be quick on this. Adelaide play Richmond.
Well, I like the way Richmond are playing. Very impressed.
All right, Collingwood Carlton.
Oh, well, yeah, well.
They could both lose.
Who's going well?
They want to be a draw. Okay. Bulldogs and Port.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, I hope Port are on the improve. They're showing every sign for it. With being a South Australian, we barrack for them.
All right. Brisbane Gold Coast.
Brisbane Gold Coast, yeah, well, without Ablett, I think you might have Brisbane have a chance.
Geelong Sydney.
Geelong Sydney, I think Sydney are on the way, ready for finals.
West Coast and Hawthorn.
Yeah, what a game.
Beauty,
So I'd still steer West Coast, I think.
All right, West Coast.
Over there.
Melbourne, North Melbourne.
Melbourne, North Melbourne, I'd stick to North Melbourne.
All right, GWS Essendon.
Well, yeah, that's a toss-up, isn't it? But I like GWS to keep rolling.
Last one, St Kilda Freo.
Well, Freo are there, so they're on form.
And if you get all the winners, I've got a $50 voucher for you at Sportscentre.
All good, all good.
Seriously, Sportscentre is the place to get your gear. They are made locally here. They employ over 50 people here in South Australia, and their gear is top shelf. We'll be back with more in a moment. Yes, thanks for staying with us, and I know that you've stayed with us. This guest, of course, although our last, one of the greats of South Australia, we talk about Max O'Connell, of course, 23 tests he umpired an SANFL Grand Final. Not very many get to do that. In fact, only 2 that we can think of. Max, thanks for joining us.
Good to be here, Phil, and young Poppy.
Hello, Maxie.
Young Poppy.
Hey?
Young Poppy, eh?
Not often that I get called that.
No.
I tell you though, it is an unusual record, and I know that we caught up with Max a few weeks ago and focused on cricket. But as we talk about that cricket and transition to football, being one of only 2, it is just so rare. In fact, it would probably be fair to say it will never happen again.
No, couldn't, because you're now dedicated to one sport, and you can't have you can't be signed up to football and cricket. So you'll never have a Eric Freeman, a Barry Robham, Lindsay Head, that all played first-class cricket, but then played league football. Because as you remember, we had a break in between those seasons.
Yeah.
You had less teams.
I reckon if my memory serves, I reckon Craig Bradley might have been the last one that had to make that choice, didn't he, between, it was VFL then with Carlton, and he was a state cricketer, will I go to cricket? And in the end he finished up going to Carlton. But since they don't hear about it as much now, it's either they're pretty ingrained into footy or they're pretty ingrained to cricket. Let me ask you about the AFL side of things, VFL. You're a grand final umpire, only the one umpire. Now we have 3 umpires. We've got goal review, we've got goal umpires. Is there too much now? Are there too many umpires in footy?
I was asked to make a comment some months ago about they wanted to go to 4 umpires, and I said it's ridiculous. Go back to 2. You've got too many on the field. Now this year there's a little umpire from Melbourne, ginger-headed fella.
Yes.
He's collided with 5 players in games and knocked 5 players over in different games over because he couldn't get out the road of it. So, and there's 3 umpires now. What are you going to do? You're going to reduce the number of players on the field, or are you going to reduce the number of umpires? You won't have to go to the game on the weekend. One stage, every player in the team, in both teams, were down in 1/4 of the ground.
Do you like the style of the game now?
No, I don't. No? I think it could be improved if they had a bit of a soccer cut-off line across the middle. So you've got to have 2 players back in that area, so it's not as congested down it. Have you ever taken into account now how many ball-ups there are in a game? They can't bounce, so they've got to throw them up. There'd be 4 or 5 times what we had.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because if you look at the sports around the world and you look at soccer, very few changes over the decades. Basketball, I'm not sure, Phil. Very few changes. Rugby league, It seems to be.
They're all settled.
It seems
the players
to be
come out and know what to do.
It seems to be football's that sport where every year we're compelled to make these subtle changes. But I think it's at the stage where we need to make some significant changes for the aesthetics of the game.
I reckon you need to leave it alone.
You go to the top. The umpire's director has never umpired a game in his life.
Good point. That's a good point.
He might be a nice fellow, I don't know him, but he's never umpired a game. And he made a statement about 3 months ago that his umpiring team are available to talk to any player, any official, at any time about an infringement. Well, what happened in the Essendon Port game? Essendon player went over and spoke to the reserve umpire and said, what's going on within this interpretation? Halfway through a game, he's asking the reserve umpire. Couldn't believe it.
Well, let's talk about umpiring. The 1967 Grand Final, we umpired that one. Sturt play against Port. Now, just before we get to that, you started with Port, went to Sturt, and of course those 2 clubs, then the rivalry was almost unbelievable. And then you had to umpire Port and Sturt.
Oh.
Were there a lot of blokes playing in that game that you played with?
Yes, yeah.
How'd you handle that?
Oh, that was no problem at all. Roger Eden used to try a few tricks, ducking. Hey, Roger, I played with you. Now cut out. Oh, I forgot about that. Great fellas. Roger Dunn, Jeff Potter, Russell Ebert, you know, all those players.
But you know, you made a point there that it's a very important point that you could actually talk with the players.
Yeah.
You could communicate with the players. There was a bit of back chat on both sides.
There's
but you know,
no
it was good.
microphone
No
either.
microphones. That's right. But and I don't know that we need them even these days.
no.
What we need is an honest communication between players and umpires. I think there's a lot of angst at the moment between the two.
If you can talk to them, they can talk back. Now, also, they don't meet after the game these days, socially.
Yes.
Now, John Congdon, when he was with Norse, and Bob McLean with Port, and Chris Grant from Centrals, always insisted. Both teams came in after the Woods to the committee room with the umpires, and they provide some refreshments and food, and you talk about the game and get to know them. A couple of weeks later, you'll be all on the field again. G'day, how are things? That a bit like the cricket with Clive Lloyd did that, and Ian Chappell. Les Favell started it and Ian carried it on. Both sides had to go into the rooms, first day of the home team, second day of the visitors, stay there for a half hour, have a drink, have a talk, and just socially.
Well, let's talk about the cricket for a minute. Your last Test match, 1980, Australia played the West Indies. The West Indies win by 408 runs, so that's when they're at their dominant best, and everybody loved the Windies then. Did you have a couple of favourites for the Windies?
Oh, yeah. Probably Michael Holding was my favourite. He was. They called him Lightning Death. No, Whispering Death. He used to you didn't hear him coming. And then you look at the front foot. Next minute, the ball's gone down to 130 k's an hour. Yeah. And he never had the attributes of a fast bowler. He never had a temper. He never used to gristle if he said not out for an LB. Yeah. Now Dennis Lilly, he played in that game. Dennis had a trick, and I'd umpired him since his first test in Adelaide, 1971. And if he bowled and appealed for an LBW, and I said, no, not out, he'd look at me, and he'd wait, 1, 2, 3, wait for the camera to come on him. I said, Academy Award stuff, Dennis. Anyway, the next ball you could bet when he bowled, he'd flick me on the hat going through. He'd run in close and flick and he'd turn around and look and then smile and laugh and get on with it.
It's all good.
So the next time I knocked back an LB, I used to move it a little bit to the left. I was nearly shaking hands with the spectators. And he'd flick you on the hat. Yeah. But he was good.
Different style of game, cricket and footy, obviously.
Yeah.
Different characters, or some of the characters are pretty much the same?
No, they're all different, all individuals.
Yep.
You've got to be careful how you treat some. Others, you flip it doesn't matter. I got invited to Dennis Lilly's This Is Your Life. I was down the umpire on that. And they had the World Series players there. They had the establishment players there. They had Dennis Lilly and his family there. And over in that little corner, all by himself, was the umpire. But they were good. They just talked to me. That was good. So that was no problem.
The aluminium bat days.
Oh, yeah. We had that here last week.
Yeah. You brought this one in, which I'd love to show as well if we can, is this particular hat here. If you give us a bit on this particular hat.
Yes, that Sunil Gavaskar was captain of India in Adelaide when Bisham Bedi went off the ground. And at the end of the game, he was a really nice fella, Sunil, one of nature's gentlemen. Brilliant batsman, only 5'4", probably he was the top opening batsman in the world for years and years. At the end of the game, he said, "Oh, would you like to swap hats?" Because I had a new Akuba hat, white one. It cost me $7.50. I'd only bought it just prior to the Test match. Yeah. Sunil, all right, okay. He said, "Well, yeah, you can have my cap."
Wow.
As you can see, it's been worn a bit.
Beautiful. Signed on the inside.
The end story is that I never heard what happened to the cap, but I know that's worth $10,000.
You're joking.
Yours might have gone up to $7.95.
Well, see, that's equivalent to a baggy green in India.
Well, and of course,
you can imagine putting it over there.
Wow.
taking over and trying to sell. Well, geez, you never know what. Anyway,
I'm
it's insured for 10,000.
I'm listening to your talk, and what fascinates me the most is your ability to communicate with the players, be it football, be it cricket. I mean, the fact that you're the only umpire at Dennis Lilly's thing shows that there was a high respect for you. Is that missing in the game today in both cricket and footy?
I think there was one thing they accepted. I was fast-tracked to Test cricket. I only umpired 8 Shield games, and I jumped over a lot of people. But I'd played 10 years in A grade for Ports, and if you look at this photo, that was the last team I played with for Port Adelaide. Look how many state players and Test players were in that game.
And the great Neil Hawke in the mid-60s, yeah.
And Glenelg, which we played in the final, had Ian Chappell, Greg Chappell, David Sincock. All 3 Test players, plus about 4 state players. So they know that I'd played at a reasonable level of cricket. And they knew who I played in the team with and against, and I think the players accepted it.
And you had great empathy for the game, you had great empathy for the players, and you had a great empathy for and respect for the rules of the game. And I think if you've got those elements, you can't really lose.
No. Also, there's one thing that we could talk to the players, both codes, football and cricket, and you could talk to them and settle it between yourselves.
Yeah.
Adelaide Oval, South are playing Norwood. First free kick I've given. The captain of the Norwood team abused me and said, "Oh, blah, you did that 3 weeks ago." I said, "Oh, did I, Robert?" "Oh, let's be that, Robert. Well, you can go off now because you're not getting a free kick. You're not getting the Gary Medal vote. And if you don't know the ball, I'm going to penalise you. So please yourself." "Oh, sorry, I'll take that back." But you couldn't say that now.
No.
Who gave you the most lip as a footballer? Who was always at you? You know, there's always a yabberer. Was there one?
Hetty, in his later years,
Lindsay, yeah,
was a yabba. But I'd played under 11s cricket with him against him at primary school. I knew him for years. One of the most talented players around that should have played Test cricket.
Really?
2 of them. Cunningham was one,
Yes.
Hetty was the other. They should have played Test cricket. So Donald Bradman got really upset with Hetty when he retired.
Yes.
But Hetty needed some money, you know, the family, growing up. And he'd signed a 12-month agreement with West Torrens to coach them in football, and he couldn't break the contract. And Sir Donald said, "Well, son, you would have been playing Test cricket." He had a wonderful eye.
Yeah.
And I remember keeping wickets for him at Alberton. Mark Kretschmer was a bit of a quick bowl. I used to like bowl the head. Kretschy's going like this to Hetty. And Hetty's going like that to the grandstand. And I'm up the stumps and Kretschy's got the new ball. I said, "I'm going back." He said, "No, you're not. You stay there." And like this, first ball straight at his head, and Lindsay's gone whack into the grandstand at the Alberton Oval.
Jeez.
You could have a go at each other then.
Yeah, that's right.
Can't
And
do
you'd be
that.
the first to buy him a drink after.
Yeah, all in the name of sportsmanship.
Ian Chappell, Clive Lloyd, both highly respected
Yes.
captains, but different, I would have thought.
Oh, yeah, much
Out on the field, were they different or similar?
Oh yeah, Clyde was very quiet and he was like a father image to them. And I was with him at Square Leg, and I used to chat a bit with him. Get bored there at times, and I'd said to Clive, "Hey Clive, what's Andy saying to Andy Roberts?" He said, "I got no idea." "Why is that?" He said, "Well, they've all got their language from the different islands." And he came from Antigua and he could only speak English. He said they could call me anything there and I wouldn't know. But if I get a wind of it, they will know.
Do something about it.
And Lloyd, he used to just say things and they did them. And he didn't have a bad bowling time, did he? Andy Roberts, Marshall, Garner, Julian,
Holding
and Lance Gibbs. You're out the middle in the best seat of the lot and you're getting paid $100 a day or something. Yeah.
Worst thing
By the way, the first class umpire, these days, on the international panel, get a minimum of $180,000.
Wow, you'd be like to be around today.
Might be time for a comeback, Max.
What was that?
Oh, we've got to finish up. We'd love to chat with you more, Max. Plenty of stories to tell. Hope you've enjoyed the show, everybody. Look forward to your company again next week. Bye, everyone.